Well, hey guys, how are you doing this week? I hope that you are all doing really well. Did you know that we started a new season this week? Yeah. Well, okay, so it's still snowing outside and it's still cold and it's still winter. But in the church, we started a new season called Lent. Can you guys say that? Lent, yeah. And Lent started with Ash Wednesday. And some of you maybe came to church this week or watched the church at home, and you put your fingers in some ashes and you made the sign of the cross on your forehead, didn't you? And that reminds us how much God loves us. So when we see the cross, we can remember God's promise that no matter how many times we mess up, that God loves us and He always forgives us, doesn't He? That's one of God's promises. Speaking of promises, how many of you have ever made a promise before? Or maybe somebody's made a promise to you before. So maybe you were in charge of helping your mom and dad clean out the garage, or maybe it was weed all the weeds from the driveway or the garden, and they promised that when you got done with that job that they would get you some ice cream. Has anything like that ever happened before? That if you finish something, they promise that they get something for you. Well, at my house one time, you know how brothers and sisters, maybe a brother and sister has ever made a promise to you? Well, Patrick promised Margaret one afternoon that he would play Legos with her. And she was so excited. So she went downstairs and she got out the Lego bucket. And she got everything all sorted and ready to go. And then she waited. And she waited. And she waited some more. Pretty soon, she was so tired of waiting, she went to go find Patrick. And she had to go outside, and there she found him, and you know what he was doing? He was playing outside with some neighbor friends. He'd completely forgotten that he would told her that he would play Legos with her. And boy, was she disappointed. Sometimes that happens, doesn't it? People don't always keep their promises. Well, sometimes keeping a promise can be really hard work. Sometimes things don't go the way that we'd planned. And sometimes, just in general, us humans aren't very good at keeping our promises. And our world friends today are learning all sorts of things about promises and how hard they can be to keep. So let's see what they're up to.
I'm so excited.
Oh, me too.
After all those weeks of folding bulletins, it's time for Pastor Pete to make good on his promise and take us to the second happiest place on earth, Chester T. Good Times Pizza and Games.
Oh, I'm gonna play skidball.
I'm gonna play the all-new Crash Tractor 3.
Sorry, kids, you won't be able to do any of that today.
Wait, what?
I hate to be the one to tell you, but Pastor Pete can't take anyone anywhere. The church is on financial lockdown because of emergency repairs in the sanctuary. What happened? Raccoons.
Did they chew things up?
Worse, they threw a party.
There is no party like a raccoon party.
But Pastor Pete promised.
And he feels terrible that he can't keep his promise, but...
You don't understand, Roxy. We folded a bajillion bulletins because of a promise. A holy covenant that Pastor Pete made with us.
That's not what a covenant...
A holy covenant, Roxy. He's an adult and a pastor. And he broke his promise and... Oh.
Gabe? Gabe?
Oh, Roxy, I just had the worst nightmare. Pastor Pete broke his promise, which made me question if anyone can be trusted to keep their promises. What a crazy dream, right? So it wasn't a dream then. All right. Thank you.
I'm sure Gabe will be fine once... That's probably Gabe overreacting, right?
Yep.
Gabe, what are you doing?
What does it look like?
It looks like you're mad at a pile of wood.
I'm building an ark in case God decides to flood the entire earth again.
But God promised that the earth would never be flooded again.
But if promises from Pastor Pete can be broken, then everything is fair game, Roxy.
People aren't perfect. Sometimes we break promises, but God's promises are different.
Really? We'll just see about that. Leo, good buddy, you reading me? Over.
Right here, good neighbor. What's your 20, over?
Leo, you've read the whole Bible. How many times does God break a promise? Over.
None. Over.
So you mean to tell me that God's promises are different than human promises?
That's what I've been trying to say.
All right, then. I'll clean that up.
Promise?
Yes, I see what you did there.
Well, Gabe was really disappointed, wasn't he? Yeah, he had been looking forward to going to Chester T. Goodtimes for a long time, and he had been working really hard at reaching that goal. And what a disappointment that those raccoons had spoiled everything and the pastor wasn't able to keep his promise. That was a big disappointment. Well, has anyone ever made a promise to you before? I'm guessing that probably yes, because we all make promises here and there, and sometimes we even make promises that we can't keep. And that's not fun. That can be a real disappointment, especially in this case, when the pastor didn't keep his promise. That was really disappointing. Sometimes teachers and parents and people that we love don't keep our promises, and that can be disappointing. But we have to remember that they are human too, and everybody makes mistakes, don't they? But who keeps their promises all the time? Do you remember who keeps their promises all the time? Well, they asked Leo, and according to Leo, God keeps his promises all the time. In the whole entire Bible, which according to Leo he has read, God never broke a promise, and that is amazing. Well, our story today is about a promise that God made to Noah and to you and to me. And I'm going to read that story today out of a book because I think that it does a really good job of showing really how much Noah trusted God. God asked Noah to build an ark miles away from the ocean. And people thought that he was absolutely crazy, but he did it, and it was a lot of work. And so Noah listened to God, and I think that this story really shows that really well. So let's read the story together. It's by Jerry Pinkney, and it's called Noah's Ark. Here we go. God was not pleased with the people of the earth. They did not care for one another. They did not care for the land that God made, and they did not care for God. God's heart was filled with pain to see the wickedness of humankind. He decided to sweep away all living things on earth. But Noah did what was right in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord loved Noah. God spoke to Noah. Noah put down his basket and he listened. God said, "Make an ark out of cypress wood, for I am going to bring a great flood upon the earth, and it will swallow up every living thing." God said, "Bring 2 of every creature on the ark. Bring food for them and for yourself. I make this promise to you. You and your family and the animals that you bring will be safe." Noah did as the Lord commanded. His family helped him build the ark. Every day it rose higher and higher. It rose over their heads. It rose over the treetops. The strong wooden beams embraced the clouds. At last, the ark was done. Noah filled baskets with grain. His wife baked loaves of bread. His 3 sons gathered grapes and olives. His sons' wives poured water into jars and carried them to the ark to fill it with food for every living thing. People came to stare at the ark. It was sat upon the top of a hill. "What fool builds a ship on dry land?" they cried. "The ocean is miles away." But Noah trusted in the Lord. and the clouds began to gather. God called to the animals, and from aardvark to zebra they came. The deer bounded through the tall grass, the elephants ran, and it sounded like thunder. The wings of the birds cast a shadow on the earth. 2 by 2 they came, all the animals of the earth. They came to the ark where Noah waited, and Noah welcomed them. They followed him into the ark, and God closed the door behind them. The rains began. The lakes and rivers and creeks and streams overflowed their banks. The oceans rose. Slowly the water crept over the land, higher and higher. The water rose over cities and towns. Whales swam down ruined streets. Schools of fish darted through empty windows. But God remembered Noah and his family and all the animals on the ark. The ark floated on the waters. Everyone inside was safe. The zebras munched their hay, the geese gobbled up the grain, the monkeys nibbled on sweet grapes and climbed to the roofs where the sparrows perched and sang. After 40 days and 40 nights, the rain finally stopped. God sent a great wind over the earth, and slowly, slowly, the water began to go down. At last, the ark came to rest on the top of the highest mountain, but all around there was nothing but water. Noah opened a window and sent out a raven to fly over the face of the waters, but the raven found no dry land. Then Noah sent out a dove to fly over the waters, but the dove found no dry land. Noah had faith in God, and he sent the dove again. The dove returned to Noah with an olive branch in its beak. Then Noah knew that there was dry land at last. Slowly, slowly, the waters went down. Slowly, the earth dried. The sun shone again. The grass grew. At last, it was time to leave the ark. The owls and the eagles spread their wings and soared. The panther sprang to the soft ground. The grasshoppers leapt and the lizards scurried. Noah and his family turned their faces up to the sun and sang praise to God. Noah and his family planted seeds for the first harvest. They cared for the earth that God had made. God said, "Never again will I send a flood upon the earth to destroy it. From this day forward, life on earth will grow and prosper." And God sent a rainbow in the heavens as a sign of this promise to Noah and to Noah's family and to every living thing. So Noah listened to God. I'm sure that lots of people thought that Noah and his family were crazy, but he built a giant ark out in the middle of the land. The ocean was miles away from there. But God kept Noah and his family safe, didn't he? And when the rains stopped, God made a promise to never flood the whole earth again. That sign of the promise is the rainbow. And so now when you see a rainbow in the sky, you can think of God and his promises. And remember that even though sometimes we humans don't always keep our promises, God always keeps his promises. Well, I promised you that if you sent in some animal jokes the last time that we would share some of those. And so here are some animal jokes. Thanks for sharing them, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.
Why do fish live in salt water? Because pepper makes them sneeze.
What do you get when you cross a triceratops and fireworks?
I don't know.
Dynamite!
Why didn't the dog want to golf? Because he didn't want to go on the roof.
What's an otter's favorite book series?
I don't know.
Harry Otter.
Hey, Michelle.
Hey, what?
Can a kangaroo jump higher than the Empire State Building?
I don't know.
Of course, the Empire State Building can't jump.
Oh!
Hey, Michelle, what goes tick-tock, bow-wow, tick-tock, bow-wow?
I don't know.
A watchdog.
Oh.
What do you get when you put 3 ducks in a box?
3 ducks in a box?
Three ducks in a box.
I don't know.
A box of quackers. Now, what sound do porcupines make when they kiss?
I don't know.
Ouch! What do you call a cow that eats your grass?
I don't know.
A lawn mower. What do you call a cow in a tornado?
Oh boy, I don't know.
A milkshake. And last but not least, what was the first animal in space?
I don't know.
The cow that jumped over the moon, of
Oh,
course.
of course.
Oh, that deserves much more than that. All right, there you go. There you have it. The stand-up routine for today.
The Lord told Noah to build him an arky, Lord told Noah to build him an arky, build it out of gopher, barky, children of the Lord. So rise and shine and give God the glory, rise and shine and give God the glory, rise and shine and give God the glory, children of the Lord. The animals, they came in by twosies, animals, they came in by twosies, elephants and kangaroosies, children of the Lord. So rise and shine and give God the glory, rise and shine and give God the glory, rise and shine and give God the glory, children of the Lord.